Welcome everybody to a very impromptu. Oh, we lost Kyle. Surprise emergency podcast. I think you all know why we're here, and we got a nice little crew building here. Let's hold on. We had Kyle. He jumped off. Kyle is doing this from a back of an Uber as he's traveling, and we got John Fiala, Victor, Gio, Jeff Bailey, Kyle Fagula, and Rafa. What's your last name again? How do I say it? I don't even remember.
Barbosa.
Call you Rafa. Barbosa. That's right. Good to see you, man. We haven't talked to you in a long time. At least on the Zoom call.
Who are you?
But
are you not Daniel? No.
I mean, I check the whole thing in the background most of the time, but I think today's a special occasion. Let's say that.
Yeah, no, we're happy to have you, man. This is awesome. So, guys, it's pretty big deal. I mean, this is as big of news to come out that we probably could have imagined.
What is?
I can't think of anything bigger. We lost Jeff. Oops. Back. I like this. I really like this program. Anyway, Mike Portnoy, of course, back in Dream Theater. The press release came out earlier this morning. Announcement from every member of the band, including Mike Mangini, who gave a statement, very cordial, kind of saying thanks to everybody enjoying his time, and sort of implicating he was just keeping the seat warm, I guess, until Mike eventually could come back. But anyway, I guess let's go around and just see what anybody thought of this news. Who was expecting it? Anybody? Was this a surprise to everybody, or did you think it would eventually happen at some point?
I honestly thought that it was not going to happen as he's joining again. I would not have been surprised if he was going to be doing a show or, sit in for a couple of songs here and there. But actually rejoining, that was not on my horizon, at least.
Yeah. Vic, how about you?
The way that prog works, especially when you're a fan of bands that have been around for a long time and you have a lot of members that go in and out, Yes being the extreme, you couldn't help but think that eventually the reunion would happen. But at the same time, Peter Gabriel never rejoined Genesis. Yeah. So, I kind of expected it. I more hoped it, but the fact it came today was a big surprise. The shock today was as much as the shock from when he announced that he was leaving. So it's all worth it now.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Jeff?
I mean, I think, there's been obviously...
Jeff, your mic is, it's like super distorted or something.
Is that better if I do that?
It's a little echoey, too.
It's like digitized.
Yeah.
Somebody else talk.
It's like a Star Wars character.
Yeah. Hey, the beauty of live. Go ahead, man. We'll just deal with it.
Hang on.
Kyle, what about you, man? Why don't you jump in?
Yeah, I can speak from the back of the car. Hopefully my internet stays, together.
Yeah, you sound good.
Thank you to my driver who was kind enough to say it was okay. So I wouldn't say that anyone expected this to happen. It has seemed more and more likely. All the chess pieces have kind of fallen into position over the last year or two. And so I think once you saw him in a concert, kind of getting back together in a sense with James LaBrie, who seemed to be the final piece of all this, it seemed at that point, well, hey, this could happen. But I'm kind of with John, like I expected, a reunion concert, or they would get back together for one event, like a festival thing, but didn't necessarily expect that he'd be right back in the band. I think the really cool thing about it is it all seems to be a civil thing, especially Mike Mangini's post. I think was important, especially for the fans, the new ones, the old ones. I just think it's nice to see that they all sort of understood the weight of this decision and seem to all be in favor of it. So I'm super excited. I think you could say too, like is this the biggest news item to take place during the Prog Report and its existence? Maybe, I don't know. Because it kind of started in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, Porcupine Tree coming back, kind of, maybe.
Liquid
Yeah.
Tension Experiment was pretty
Liquid
big.
Tension Experiment at the time was a big one. Yeah.
Portnoy
But this-
reuniting with Petrucci was pretty big.
This still sounds. This still feels bigger. Jeff, you want to try?
Can you hear me now? Is that better?
There you go. Yep.
Much better.
Okay. No, I mean, Kyle said exactly what I was going to say, which is you know, it, despite the fact that lots of the pieces seem to be falling into place, until it happens, right? Until the day comes and it happens and the news comes out, that's different, right? That's different from, photos of ones and twos or Liquid Tension Experiment. And the fact that, it's kind of set out with an intent. There's going to be albums, there's going to be touring, all of that kind of stuff. I say it's not a kind of lap of honor, one off and then back to business. It's very exciting, and it'll be exciting to hear what they create together, because it's been a very, very long time. And anyone musically moves and changes and does things differently. I even think of the entire world of music, how music was received and put out back when Mike was a member. It is very different, and it'll be exciting to see that line up in this kind of different world.
Yeah, totally. Rafa, how about you, man? Can you hear me, Rafa?
I think yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Sorry. I think I was that kind of person in a relationship that ignore all the red flags, because everything that guys are saying is like, yes, I saw that in the news, him getting together, more close to all of them pretty much those last years and being concerts and talking about good stuff. But I think it's a little bit what Jeff said, until hit the news is a different step. And I was really in shock when I got the news today on WhatsApp, and then I was just like, I could not believe it. And I work in a place I barely have service, so I could not barely scroll down or open anything. It was like, this is a joke, because we joke a lot, so maybe it is, because this cannot be real. But it was really in shock to see that happen. The same way that 13 years ago. And the funny thing is, I messaged the same person I messaged back in 2010, a friend of mine in Brazil, and she reacted, I think, the same way. It's just like one super sad and I was super excited. So
Yeah.
It
Well,
was
it's funny because you're talking
no, I
about
didn't saw
our-
coming a good red flag.
Hold on, wait. We have another person.
There's someone trying to get in.
There you go.
There he is.
Hey! It's a beautiful day. Can you guys hear me?
We hear
How
you,
am I
man.
sounding?
We
Pardon?
hear you. Great to have you on. Dan is on. I think Dan is maybe more excited than everybody from all our chats during the day. We've been going around talking about the reaction to this and what we think about it. So why don't you go ahead and give your opinion?
Dan, weren't you like
this has-
weren't you, hey Dan, really quick, weren't you like 12 when Mike Portnoy left the band?
Not far off.
Not 12, man. I was
Not even.
15. Okay.
Oh my.
The thing is, like, I was 15, and this was the same year, just a couple months apart from my parents' divorce. So it hit really hard on a 15-year-old kid, because it was my band, was my drummer. Back then, it was like the biggest deal. So, I mean, in the twisted ways of life, it made us be a thing, So I'm really thankful for the time that it happened, But it was a shock. In a bunch of different ways, it was really sad and awful and bad. But I mean, it led us in the path that we are now, and it's a good one, because today is a day for celebration. Mike is back. We are on the good timeline again. A new album is coming. A new tour is coming. We're all going to be there. It's going to be a good time, and I'm excited. I have
Yeah.
this poster in the back here, which I got around 2010ish. It's the Mike ears, and I had it hung on my wall in my previous apartment before this one. But I had to go find it for this. So here it is in all its glory, celebrating a good chunk of years of the band.
You know,
The
I
only
was
the only shirt I have is one of the astonishing, so I decided not to wear it today.
Probably a good idea.
I was thinking about, how after he left, then you started to have all this run of great albums. You had Transatlantic continuing, then you had Flying Colors came about. You had Sons of Apollo. Dream Theater did a bunch of records with Mangini that kept that thing going. During the last 13 years, really, but for us, since we've been doing this just 10 years on the channel, I mean, that was an amazing time for music, and so many great albums. Everything was really good. If you're a fan of this era of these bands, this was really the best time ever. Really, it was so fruitful in terms of so much music. And really, if you think about it, Transatlantic, not officially ending, but sort of feels like they wrapped things up. Flying Colors, with everything going on with Casey, and they've been on hiatus, doesn't look like that's going to be again anytime soon. Neil Morse Band just had a really long run. It feels like the right time for it
Yeah,
to
Sons of
happen.
Apollo as well, right?
Right. And so it feels like the nice sort of closing of a circle. He comes back. There's still plenty of music that Neil's going to make. We got the Joseph albums and whatever else he's going to be doing. And I don't, it's not out of the realm of possibility that there's an NMB album down the line or another one. They can always find time to do something. I don't think it'll be before 2025 would be my guess at best. Maybe even longer.
Mike's always managed to do plenty of other things. Even
Yeah, but I think the idea would
even
be that the focus is going to be on this only. No, not even mentioning or posting that there's going to be another thing happening, at least for a little while. I would be my guess.
But I mean, there's. I suppose what I'm saying is, even when he's been really, really busy, he'll do Metal Allegiance shows. He'll do all sorts of different things. I'm sure
Yeah.
The road dog in Mike will keep going in that direction. I think the other thing that for me is notable about it, I was trying to think. Actually, someone posted on the YouTube comments about the current lineup was the longest serving Dream Theater lineup, which I thought was pretty funny. But actually, it's very, very rare in rock that lineups change with so much grace. When you actually read what people have posted, when do members leave and it doesn't end up, accompanied with bad feelings. So I think, props to Mike Mangini for the way he's dealt with it, and props, to the whole band that they have been gracious. And I think that kind of grace has existed between the two Mikes over the entire period. And it's good to see that continues.
Yeah. Somebody asks here, will he return to being the leader of the band? Can you guys talk about the dynamics of the band going forward?
That's an interesting question.
I mean, we don't, we're not there with them. Obviously, we don't know exactly how it would be.
Call him up.
Yeah.
On the phone, Mike Portnoy.
I can assume.
We can send you a link, Mike.
Put yourself in a position of any other job, right? You used to work somewhere, you left, you went back after, or just any sort of situation like that. I think you sort of go in hesitantly a little bit, right? Like maybe not go around saying, okay, I'm back, I'm running everything. I think it might be a little slower getting back to normal.
I think Mike is a different person now than he was 13 years ago. And I think, that's a situation that none of us can really speak to, but just the kind of the aura surrounding him and kind of the way that you could tell that it really hurt in the aftermath. And it felt like there was probably some bad blood and some disagreements. Obviously, some of those more public than others. But it seems like they're all sort of in the right place, older, wiser, and getting a second crack at this together. I would assume, kind of understanding some of the power dynamics, that there will probably be a somewhat brokered conversation on here's how we've done things the last 13 years. We know you have a certain skill set that we've missed, and that we obviously you're not going to turn Mike Portnoy off, from what he's good at. And I think actually it'll reinvigorate the group and give it some new life. And so I can only imagine the creative process with Liquid Tension and the effect that had on John and Jordan in terms of wanting this for Dream Theater. So I think it'll kind of be sort of back to the same, but a little different. I think one question along those lines is, as you probably know, they've been playing to a click, everything's synced up. That's not how Mike used to do things. They've mostly had the same set list from show to show to show. That's not how Mike used to do things. So to me, those are the more interesting questions is, what are they going to do there?
I wonder, I think part of the reason most bands do this, right? They play to a click and they set up a specific show because of the videos, because it makes a traveling production easier to handle and run and deal with. I don't know that part changes necessarily. I think even now when you look at the bands Mike plays in, I don't think Sons of Apollo, NMB, Winery Dogs change set lists from night to night anymore. Really, I think it's pretty static. So I think they would probably just come up with a set list and stick to it. But that would be a big change from how they used to do it.
It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see the motivation for him changing the music. We know that his time in Dream Theater, especially towards the end, he was getting burnt out and he was trying to change things up, keep things entertaining for himself. These are songs that he has not played nightly for better part of 13 years. So maybe there is not the need of having to vary up the set because it'll be fresh and exciting for him again. Maybe that's the angle.
Somebody asks here about Sons of Apollo and Winery Dogs. A couple of things I saw online. I mean, I think most Sons of Apollo, nobody had come out and said it's over officially, that type of thing. But if you follow comments, and Jeff Scott Soto posted something today on his socials, it gives a very strong impression that band is done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Bumblefoot posted something maybe a week ago saying, "Hey, I hope everyone enjoyed it. It was fun." Like sort of saying it's done. So that seems to be the story there. Winery Dogs, I don't think that's over.
Well, they have like 10 shows, so
yeah, they're still finishing a tour, but I think that
So it's
would
not
be
over.
a band. That's a band that's taken years off and come back, and it's a completely different type of band, completely different music. I could totally see them doing that again in 4 or 5 years, and I don't think that would be something he needs to quit.
agreed.
Yeah,
man. Like, I'm excited. I think the whole landscape has just suddenly changed. The last 13 years and how things have been. And like, you see Mike 3 times a year with 3 different bands. That's kind of done. If you're a fan of Mike himself, you're going to get used to just watching Dream Theater again for a while.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see our 2024 of them working on that record. And then maybe later in the year, they begin a tour in the US, and then it becomes a world tour throughout 2025.
Yeah.
Maybe then they have some time to work on, I don't know, Winery Dogs again, or maybe NMB. But I don't see a lot of the other bands having much activity,
Right.
And-
It seems
and the length
like the landscape is set up for this. That's what I was saying. It sort of really fits. Somebody asked a good question here, which I think we sort of messed around talking about on the chat earlier today.
Yeah, that's an interesting
How
one.
many songs from the last 13 years will make it onto the set list? Man, okay, who wants to chime in on this one first?
Roy,
Mike.
I know that you think they might just play like one song tops from like the Mangini era. And I'm kind of with you. I don't think one, but maybe 2 or 3, I think they will squeeze in a couple. I think it might be something like, I don't know, The Enemy Inside and Breaking All Illusions, a longer one and a smaller one. and you have those 20 minutes of Mangini music in a 2-hour set list with a bunch of classics and of course new album stuff. I think that's the most likely scenario. But the set list topic is really interesting to me.
And I'd be really interested to hear what how Mike Portnoy plays a Mike Mangini song. Like how much liberty is he going to be taking on his own, which is kind of what Mangini had to do a little bit of when he was in the band too.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd love to hear a few songs.
Yeah, be cool.
I feel like
I've been thinking about this since we chatted, and the reality is, right, if they make some new music, you know, Dream Theater typically play a big chunk of new stuff in their show.
A good 3 or 4 songs, yeah.
You know, and maybe even more than that. You know, think of how many albums there are to draw from before. I think the focus will be on that music. You know, I think maybe for fun, you know, there might be something slipped in at some point. But my guess is, you get that lineup back together, you focus on the
when David Lee Roth came back to Van Halen, they didn't play any Sammy Hagar stuff.
No Sammy songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's because David Lee Roth can't do Sammy Hagar, but that's a whole nother conversation.
That's true too, but no one wanted to hear the Hagar stuff when he came back. But look, I think there'd be two options in there. You're right. First of all, the songs are long. So if they play 3 or 4 songs from the new record, they do 1 or 2 epics, you know, Count of Tuscany, Change of Seasons, whatever. That's already an hour and a half. You know, a few songs from Scenes from Memory, let's say, you're talking 2 hours, and it could be 8 songs. Like, I just don't see. I mean, I think there's 2 options. The Alien was the Grammy song. It's sort of notable for that thing, so maybe that, or something from Dramatic Turn of Events, which was maybe something that Portnoy almost worked on at the time.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
You know.
I think it's also an album that had less Mangini input in it. It was pretty much like drum machines, as we've discussed in the past. So it has less Mangini-isms that Mike might not be as comfortable playing or developing upon.
Watch them play The Gift of Music or something, though, right? That would be.
Well, I'm down. That song is great. So I'm down for that.
Jeff, we can't hear you. Jeff, we can't hear you.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll that gets my vote, but I mean, I think, you know.
Although it's not a bad song to do because it's short. They could fit it in.
Look at the 10 albums. Look at the 10 albums that Mike made with Dream Theater, and tell me where the Alien fits into that set list. Grammy.
No, fair enough. Yeah. I agree. Yeah, that's probably a good point. Somebody asked, let's see, I'm trying to look at, guys, this has been, actually, the turnout on this is awesome, guys. Thanks for joining us. This is really cool.
Yes.
I just want to be on the record. I just want to be on the record as saying that I actually think a little differently. I think he will change the sets up. I think they can program as many songs as they want in advance. And I think there will be a segment of the set that he changes from night to night. That would be my guess. And I think that knowing Mike and how he is about this stuff, I think he will want to intentionally do some of these Mangini era songs. Now, I could end up being wrong, and in terms of the other bands, I think with Mike, like if he can continue working on these projects and bands, I think he will. And I actually think like you'll probably see another new band or 2 in the next few years from him. I mean, he's already working on this Van Halen sort of tribute show thing with Sammy and Michael, and so who knows? I think he will continue to do new stuff, and I would be shocked if he doesn't come back into the band and say, hey, we've got to switch these sets up. We got to make it exciting. We got to give people a reason to want to come out and see us. I mean, aside from the obvious reasons, but just my thoughts.
And as you can
Kyle,
say, you can do that. You can do that as a slot in the show. You know, it doesn't have to be totally different every night, right?
Yeah, like 3 to 4 songs. Kyle, I think you might agree with me on this, and I know we're thinking way ahead of the time. But I think there's a chance that Mike includes one particular song in the set list. And that was the formerly last song with Mike Portnoy in Dream Theater being Raw Dog. What do you think?
I think there's a chance of that. I mean, I think that's what kind of gets him excited about playing a band. But as someone said earlier, now that he hasn't played these songs for 13 years, I think he'll be content to just do it again. So what you see on this first tour It's probably going to be largely the new album that they're going to be very excited about and trying to push.
And the classics, yeah.
With the classics, but I think there will be some fun stuff inserted in there. I just don't see him not willing to do that. In the same way that he's not going to want to do Change of Seasons every single night either. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I think there's a chance to be really interesting. But as you say, I think that the first tour is going to be largely different from the following ones.
That's one point I wanted to make. Thank you, which you reminded me of. I think the first tour I could see no Mangini songs, and then maybe the second leg, the third leg, they maybe start to add a little bit. I could see that maybe being a thing, a little bit more. Yeah, somebody says here, I hope MP brings back a heavier sound to the band. Man, I feel like the last album was pretty darn heavy.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's.
That was Husker. Is that John Fiala as well? John,
it's a different Husker.
Another Husker.
What do you guys think about that? What kind of album sound-wise do you want them to make? Something more like Train of Thought, Octavarium, which more diverse, more classic images and words. Where do you think they might go?
Well, the metal guy here wants metal. The metal guy here wants metal. So next,
Rafa, what about you, man? What do you think?
I don't know. I think it's very different. It's hard to read Mike's mindset especially when he left the band, he was 43. Now he's 56. So I don't know what he wants to do. Even like we were talking earlier, like the control of the set list and what he's gonna play. I think I'm very stuck on an age thing because as a almost 4 years old, I'm getting way tired than I was 10 years ago. So I don't know how they're gonna go for him, physically speaking, and on his brain, and what he wanna do. But I would love to see, just a heavier, more aggressive band. I love that. I can't deny that.
Yeah, Kyle, what about you? What do you think? What would you want to hear them do?
What I want to hear is returning to a sound of Awake, more cinematic kind of soundscape sound. Anything between Awake and I think 6 Degrees is what I would like to hear. Kind of more orchestrated and so on. I actually think what we'll probably get will be closest to Metropolis Part 2 because I think they will. It would be hard not to think they wouldn't sit down as a group and creatively say, where were we at our peak, and at least use that as some sort of metric to measure themselves by. It also wouldn't shock me if they end up just doing Metropolis Part 3 as an album, because I feel like it would be cool. But
I can't see that being the case straight
eventually,
out of the gate.
it won't be their first album. It might be like the third or fourth album down the road. Maybe.
I wonder if there's any story to tell left on Metropolis.
Yeah.
I think that
we'll meet again. I'm sorry, but it ends.
Well, here's
meet again.
great. This is a great. Here, look. Knowing Mike, they put a double album, first CD, moving pictures type album, second disc will be heavy on Prog Epics. I'm down for that.
Cool.
I'm
Sold.
down for that.
Sold.
Right.
I think that probably with such a gap, it's a case of they go to the studio and see what comes out. Right. I'm sure they probably don't go in with a master plan, or maybe they will. Maybe they'll decide that a concept album is the thing to do. My guess is, it'll probably be a whole variety of everything.
Yeah. I was thinking, a cool opening song would be "Home," though.
Oh yeah.
Just him coming home, the whole intro kind of thing, the starting. I predict that as a good opening song for the tour.
Yeah, man, there's so many options though, like Metropolis too.
There's endless.
But Home is one of my favorite songs, so I'm 100% down for that.
Yeah. I think they definitely play that one. I feel like that's for sure in the set, but who knows?
I think Dance of Eternity is a sure bet.
Yeah.
That Spirit Carries On, Pull Me Under or Metropolis, something like that.
Glass Prison. That's a good one. Somebody mentioned Glass Prison. That might be a great opener too. Yeah, I think that's been missing from the set. Glass Prison should be one that comes back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One of their
sure.
best songs.
And yes, it is true. Mike
That's
Portnoy is
true.
back.
It is true, Roger.
Yes.
It is true.
It is not April Fool's. When I saw that, I checked. I'm like, wait a second, we're in October. This is real.
Yeah. I think everyone felt that way.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like that sort of wraps it up. There's not a whole lot
Already?
more to cover. Yeah, I don't know. It's we've done about 30 minutes on this already. I mean, we've been talking about it all day in the chat.
That's what I'm
This has
saying.
been the most. It's caused the most conversation among the Prog Report chat group than anything has
Quite a
ever,
while,
I
yeah.
believe. Yeah, it's been pretty exciting. Any other bands left that we need to have reunions from at this point that you can think of? Because we got
Spock's
Porcupine
Beard.
Tree, we got
Spock's Beard.
yeah,
Anything from Spock's we could
Yeah, exactly.
right. Even if it's just Spock's without
reunite with their current lineup.
Hey, Jeff, question for the Spock's Beard. So when Neil left from Snow until they recorded their 15th anniversary, Falling to Forever, was that 13 years? Because wasn't Snow 2002?
Could be.
Yeah, but that was 2016, so 14 years.
No. No, actually, it was 15 when it was released. 16 was the
Oh,
Snow
yeah.
performance.
Oh, okay.
Chris DeGarmo to Queensryche.
They
Yeah,
did-
man, that would be
Ah,
amazing.
no,
It'll never happen, but that
They
would
did
be
it.
awesome.
They did it at the Morse Fest. They did Snow.
Correct.
So it was done in
Yeah.
2016.
Yeah, but Vic is right. So there's a good question here. I don't know if you guys discussed it before I got in, but how much time do you guys think it would take for the new DT album? And I think we're looking at like a year at the most.
Well, I think you want to do it. You don't want to make this announcement and then wait 3 years to release the record, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
So you want to get out and tour. It seems like they obviously didn't want to tour before they do an album, which is cool. So, yeah, I think within a year.
You guys-
sounds like-
I missed that. Did they say that they're doing an album first?
yeah.
I think so.
And part of me wishes they just did the album, you know, like Transatlantic did with the Whirlwind, and then announced the return. You know, of course they don't want any leaks. But the thing is that everyone's gonna be, oh my god, the album, and then you have to wait a year to hear anything about it. So
Do you guys believe it could be like a warm up tour? Some bands used to do that in the past when they back together.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised if they came out with this announcement and said, hey, Portnoy's back. Here's some tour dates. You know, that's done a lot, actually. So, you know,
Yeah.
but maybe that just wasn't, they weren't able to schedule anything and they just wanted to get this out.
oh, they still might. Let's see,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, here's the, you know, I feel bad for Mangini, but I miss Portnoy. I think that's the sentiment.
I think most people feel that way. Yeah, exactly. He did a bang up job when he was there.
I don't feel bad for him. I feel happy. I think everyone's respecting his time in the band, and we're not like happy that he's gone. We're happy that the other Mike's back, and those things they can coexist. You know, that's how I feel. I've watched Dream Theater with Mangini like I don't know 7 times, and he was great in all of them. You know, different, definitely different, but great. It's a different energy. It's a whole nother show. But seeing Mike back with Dream Theater Live again is going to be, oh man. I think they're going to sell a lot of tickets.
Oh yeah.
They will open with a 20-minute drum solo. Sure.
Mangini was asked to do the impossible, which is step into the shoes of a legend that was loved, and we were all shocked. And he was very clear that he wasn't there to replace. He was there to move the band forward so the band could continue, and he accomplished that. He did it very skillfully. Man, he took a lot of heat. There's a lot of people that rake him through the coals because they think he is, quote, robotic. They think he just doesn't have any soul in his playing. You talk to the guys in the band, and they don't think that way at all. So thank you, Mike Mangini, for doing what you did and just taking the heat and, you know, helping the band continue to the point where they even got a Grammy. So,
Dude, I think one of the best drumming performances I still remember to this day was seeing him with Extreme. It was That I'd never seen anything like that, with the symmetrical drumming, with the snare in the middle, and he was doing everything like this with two hands and switching sides. I'd never seen anything like that to that point. So he's a badass.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that, I mean, it's a good point you make there, which is, the band. I mean, sometimes, you see bands where kind of a key member leaves and kind of, the trajectory tails off. Dream Theater are still they're still going strong. It's not a case of, they've got, kind of last resort, we need to get, an original member back to kind of, get us back on our feet. They're doing well, and I think, again, back to what it said earlier on, I think this has come about through the reconnection, through the relationships kind of coming back in place. That it's the very natural thing to do. It's not a kind of a desperate move to kind of somehow get a last hurrah glory retirement kind of tour. I mean, it sounds like they're back in business, and they mean business, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So are we all going to try and make it to the first show? Is that going to be the one? We got to go see the first show.
It's in Belfast, actually.
Is it in Belfast?
Yeah. I have a suspicion.
If it's in Belfast, then we're all going to Belfast. We have to be there for the first show. So
we're all sleeping in your bed.
Right here.
You're all going to be there.
We can sleep there.
I think, I don't know if I wonder if they would come right out of the gate with, something in New York or something like that. So
yeah, I think there's a chance they might start with Radio City, a small chance, but still a chance. And if that's the first show, there's one you got to be, So I know I would try my hardest to get good seats for that, and all of us.
Hal Graves has to be in the front row.
Again, yes, it's a tribute. 20 years later, he's still like and punching the stage.
Yeah. This is it's wild, man. Somebody asked me how excited I was, and I said the only other, because I'm near Miami in South Florida, and Vic, you can maybe relate to this, but the only bigger news I can remember down here was LeBron coming to the Heat.
Yeah. which the rest of the world hated, but we were in hog heaven.
The rest of the world doesn't even know what you mean.
Well, yeah, maybe.
I'm excited to see what this next chapter is going to bring, because I think back to before Mike left, he had just started doing the Progressive Nation tours, and there's that buzz going. He leaves Dream Theater. All the spin-offs start coming in, Flying Colors, Transatlantic keeps going, Progressive Nation at Sea. That was awesome. So now that we've got this new chapter, let's see what happens. It's nothing but good news. So it's going to be great.
I think it opens up a whole new, realm of possibilities and albums and music, different things we didn't expect. It's going to be fun.
Exactly. I think like the way Mike's head works, he's always thinking about something cooler or bigger that he can do. And that was the thing with Dream Theater in those examples Vic just mentioned with like Progressive Nation and stuff. And then he kind of took a smaller seat, but he was still able to do all those events like Progressive Nation at Sea and then Cruises to the Edge and Morse Fest and a lot of different and creative stuff. I think now that he's back in Dream Theater, he's going to do even more different stuff, but bigger maybe, bringing more bands along and doing, different types of festivals. Yeah. I'm excited, man. I think there's a chance that we could get like a whole other decade of cool stuff in the making.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, hey, everybody, thanks for joining. We had a really good turnout on this. We decided to do it really last minute, and I think it worked out really well. So I guess maybe we'll try and do some more of these live streams here and there. And, see what else is going on. We will be having, so we're October. We will be doing our Best of 2023 podcast soon. And Prog Report Awards coming out soon and all sorts of good stuff. So keep your eye on the channel. If you've been watching our Wheel of Prog episodes, or if you've missed any, circle back to those. And we'll see everybody again soon. Go play some Dream Theater.
See everybody. Yay.
Hey, good night, everybody.
Prog
Bye-bye,
on.
guys.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.